I feedback bureau. Do you the 20? Your great so trying. People dust.
Okay, I believe you are live with audio now.
Let me see if it comes through in here. I think it's coming through in here. Let me see if it comes through. Oh, I hear me now. I think it's coming through in here. So I've just got word that everything I said went in one ear and out the other in this room, but not outside this room. I've just got word that everything I said went in one ear and out the other in this room, but not outside this room. Okay, so now what I need for everybody to remember what they saw, and I'm going to give you the condensed version so we can still learn from it. How's that sound? Okay, I can talk really fast. Okay, whatever. So we'll go back with the hat. See, remember the hat? Hat was good. You saw that. All right. So what we were doing here is we were talking about the importance of having our paper inserted into the printer the correct way. Okay, being face up versus face down. So the general rule here is with standard sublimation paper, we want it to be shiny side or the brighter white side down when we put it in the printer. With the easy sub, we want it to be up when we put it in the printer. And this is what I demonstrated here. I printed one of these with the paper correctly and one of these with the paper incorrectly. This one here was printed with the paper correctly, which means that we got to see all the color, okay? That's very important. We see all the color here, whereas on here, it's not quite as bright because it's printed on the wrong side of the paper. Now, sublimation paper is made specifically for sublimation. It is designed so that it actually captures the ink, holds it, and then releases it when we put it with a heat press with time, temperature, pressure. Now, I hear all the time people say, oh, you can just buy copy paper. Copy paper was not designed to do that. Copy paper was designed to hold the ink in and never let it out. So the fact that you can even get some of it out with a heat press is kind of amazing, but you're never going to get this quality out of regular copy paper, okay? And you probably won't get this quality either. So don't try and save a few pennies by buying cheaper paper. I mean, let's face it, paper 8.5 by 11 starts at about 20 cents a sheet. If you're selling something, let's say you're selling a t-shirt, okay, a child's t-shirt using 8.5 by 11 paper, does 20 cents even make a difference in the cost? I mean, you still got to buy the other paper. That's just not a good way to save money. So please do keep that in mind. The next thing I was covering was I was starting to talk about how to store the paper. It's very important that we don't just leave the paper lying around. Like you can see, I have it lying around all over the place in here. All right, so the reality is when we store paper, we want to store it in a cool, dry place, okay, and away from bright light. In my early days, I was told put it in a Ziploc bag. That is bad. We don't do that anymore, okay, because the Ziploc bag can trap moisture. If you get moisture in the paper and you go to sublimate it, and I've seen it happen, I actually have photos, moisture in the paper can actually turn to steam under the heat press. And if you get steam somewhere, a little steam bubble somewhere in the middle like this fish, and the fish is going to have an interesting little spot there. So we don't want that. So that's very important that we keep our paper taken care of the right way. All right. Now, other things that come along. If you have a bypass tray, right? And we leave our bypass tray, because once we have a bypass tray, we tend to leave it on our printer, okay? We don't want to take it on and off, on and off. So a lot of times we leave our big sheets of paper in our bypass tray. What's it doing? It's flopping over. So if it's always flopping over, eventually all the paper gets a bit, it's not a crease, but it becomes like this, okay? It's always like this. So when it starts to feed through the printer, it may not feed as smoothly. If it doesn't go through the printer smoothly, then you're not going to get a good crisp print on it. So don't leave your paper in your bypass tray, okay? Don't leave it in there. When you're not using it, take it back out and store it. You can leave your bypass tray on, but take the paper out. It'll thank you later, or you'll thank yourself later anyway for that. Now, different brands of paper. I get asked all the time, what's the best brand of paper? Okay. Well, we make Tru-Pix, so we'll say Tru-Pix, right? But I'll tell you that if you're buying from a sawgrass dealer, all of our sawgrass dealers have been very careful selecting the papers that they sell. So they've tested their papers, they're making sure that they work properly with the sawgrass ink and the sawgrass systems. So those are the sources you want to go to, because they're the ones that have been tested properly. I mean, the reality, and I learned this a long time ago, if you're using good quality ink, good quality paper, and a good quality printer, it minimizes your problems. tremendously so that you know you're going to get good prints routinely, and therefore you can focus on selling and making money, which is one of my favorite subjects, okay? So keep that in mind. Now, another question that comes up all the time with paper is they say, man, that's a lot of ink left on there. Well, it's not really. It just looks like it. And then the next question is, can you sublimate that twice? No, okay? There's not nearly the amount of ink that you think is in there. And the idea of sublimating it twice sounds good, just doesn't work, okay? Once it's done, it's done. I know there's a lot in there. It's interesting too to look at the two different papers, okay, that I sublimated with. Now, a minute ago when I did this, all right, see if I can hold both at the same time. It looks like this was the right paper, but wait a minute, make sure I'm looking at down my nose, so I was trying to look at it the right way. Okay, so at first glance, this looks like it's the right paper because it looks brighter and this one looks duller, but that's just because of the heat. This was actually the right paper right here on this one, and you notice it used more of the ink than it did over here. That's because this ink is trapped in the paper. It couldn't come out because it was on the wrong side of the paper. This side actually released more ink. That's why we got the better colors. So this is the right side of the paper. So pay close attention to that. I know it's such a simple thing, and trying to make this an exciting subject can be tough, but this makes such a huge difference. Here, I'll add a little excitement to paper. There's so many cool things you can do with paper, like throw it at your camera guy, okay? See, that's fun. Or if your wife isn't in the room with you and you're a guy, you can throw it on the floor. That's fun too. And you know what else we can do with paper? We can make airplanes. Okay, I've done enough. Anyway, so we can do all kinds of good things with paper. Now, another thing to think about with paper, especially if you're very cost conscious, you know, and I'm a penny pincher, with your printer, you can use lots of different sizes of paper, okay? So it would never make sense, of course, to use 11 by 17 with a coffee mug. Now, would it, right? Now, you could cut it, okay? If you want to get scissors, you can cut this into multiple strips. You could get, what, 3 sheets for a mug out of 1 sheet here. That's fine, okay? But if you just use a whole sheet to print for 1 mug, that is a big waste of paper. But consider the fact that you can buy mug paper, okay? So you can buy different sizes of paper for different jobs, and that helps you reduce your paper cost. So if you are cost conscious, do consider that as well. If you wanted to, one of the neat things that Sawgrass has is you can add an option tray to your printer, which means you can have different sizes of paper, you know, stored in the printer at all times, and you can select them through your print manager. So that makes it pretty cool as well. Okay, another question that comes up to me all the time, and that is, if I print on my paper, how long in advance can I print before I press? Or how long will it be okay to be on the paper? To be honest, I've made transfers and had them sitting around for a long time for sublimation before I've had to use them and not had a problem. But, you know, typically I recommend that you don't do it too far in advance. If you're thinking a couple of days ahead, that's fine because you're doing your production planning. That's good, but I wouldn't actually print stuff and have it sitting around for 6 months. I just wouldn't do that, you know. So I would recommend that you do actually press within a reasonable period of time, okay, if you're using true sublimation paper and sublimation ink, okay. And for anybody else that's doing like transfers, sometimes it's easy to mix up your regular transfer paper with, and I'm not talking about vinyl transfers, I'm talking about transfers that you run in an inkjet printer not using sublimation. Those papers look just like these papers, totally different. Okay, not going to work. So always make sure you identify your paper, store it the right way. All right, so I'm going to look at some of your questions because I've been doing all the talking, and now I might as well see what you're asking, and I see that my cameraman is writing something down, so that's probably got me in trouble. Okay, so let's see. Let's start again. Yeah, there we go. All right, which is the most recent? Well, I missed the lady. Oh, Megan, if you're watching, where's Megan? That's the #1 thing. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm trying to find where you can actually hear me. Yeah, here's the best comment of all. Dan, thank you, Ashley. He's going to be so upset if he checks comments at the end of this live and sees that nobody heard one word he said. In fact, my comments weren't even showing up for a while there. Okay, so let's get down here where, hey, you can hear me. That's all good. That's exciting. Lori says she needs a hotline to our camera person. Okay, so which paper goes white side up? I realize that even though I said it like 10 times, you might not have heard it. So when you're putting your paper into the printer, okay, the bright side, both sides are white, okay, but the bright side goes down for true sublimation paper, okay? If you're using the easy Subli paper, the brighter side would go up, okay? So, and I'll tell you, if you're like me, just to make it easier, I always store my paper that way too, okay? I have like a plastic, Tupperware kind of container to put it in, and I will always store it the way that it goes into the printer so that I don't have to think too much about it. Again, you may not have heard this. One of the easy ways to check that, now that you can hear and see, is to actually fold your paper over without putting in a crease. And thank you. Without putting in a crease, and you will see that this side here is a little bit darker and this side is brighter. So this side is the bright side, this is the dark side. So this is one of the easiest ways to check your paper, just like this, okay? And here's an example of the easy Subli paper, and the easy Subli paper, the same thing. Your bright side's gonna go up, the dull side goes down, okay? Bright side up, dull side down. So that's what you want to do on that. Don't get the two mixed up. You'll find out the first thing that you sublimate, just like we did here, if you get those two mixed up. Okay, do we have additional questions? Now I want to tell you that we're planning something really interesting tomorrow. The title is Outdoor Sublimation, but I'm not giving out any spoilers. I have a very special guest that's going to be with me, and it's going to be really different, really unique, and I'm inviting everybody to join us in because it's going to be pretty cool. Okay, question in, go over again why it's not a good idea to try and press twice with the same sheet. Okay, no problem, because I know that we had all of our little sound issues going on there. What happens is much more ink is released than you realize. And when people look at this, they say, oh, that looks like the original sheet. I could go ahead and sublimate again. But the reality is you'll never release all of the ink. This is just leaving behind a trace amount. This looks like a lot, but it's really a trace amount. Think of it as just sort of a permanence that's been left behind. Okay, there's nothing wrong. You didn't leave 75% of the ink behind. You only left a very small portion, therefore there's very little to come out. In the comparison, okay, this sheet here was printed on the wrong side. The wrong side is designed to absorb and not release. This was printed on the right side, and you can see there's a lot less ink left because this side of the paper is designed to absorb and release, okay? Sublimation paper, I know these look like regular sheets of paper to you, right? Sublimation paper actually has multiple layers within the paper, as thin as this stuff is, and one of them is called a release layer. And we always need the release layer to be facing towards the substrate, meaning that's the side that has the ink in it, and that's going to release it properly. When you print on the wrong side, you're not printing into the release layer, and most of it's held back like you see here, okay? But you still cannot reprint with that because it's not gonna come out. This released out. It's kind of technical. Just trust me when I tell you. How's that sound? Can you move the image so it is not printing in the middle of the paper if you have a small image? Yes, you can do that. You can actually move its location in the print manager. And I didn't hook in my laptop to the printer because I kind of pre-printed everything today, or I would show you that. But yes, that when you go into the print manager and you get before you get ready to print, you do have some settings in there where you can go and resize things, and there you can set some numbers where you should be able to move it where you want to move it. Beth, I'm not ignoring you. I simply don't have the answer to your particular question. It's a question that you would have to give to our tech support. I do not know the answer to your question. So my apologies to you. And I apologize if you think you were being ignored. You weren't. I just don't have the answer. In fact, Beth, if you want to email me directly, I'll make sure that that question gets presented over to the people that could answer it for you. My email is jlamb@jimmylamb.net. So I'll be glad. No, that's not it. That's my personal one. Don't anybody share that. Sorry. But my Sawgrass email. Now the whole world knows. It doesn't matter. But my Sawgrass is jlamb, JLAMB @sawgrassinc.com. Okay. So I'll be glad to try and push that along to someone who can better answer it for you. I just do not have the answer. Additional questions? Oh boy. Thanks, Lori. Okay. Thanks, Lori. Mail bombing me tonight. That's okay. I have a delete button for you, Lori. Anyway. I am so sorry about everything earlier on. I bet I was cute, just going along, doing all the talking, everything, nothing coming through. So anyway, okay. And my friends at Coastal, I haven't seen them come out with anything really crazy yet, but I'm sure they will later. Okay. I think I gave them enough footage that they're going to come up with something like they did last week. But for everybody that's missing Megan, okay, I miss her too. Okay. She will be back next week. By the way, Sublimation Olympics, our finals and Sublimation Olympics are on Tuesday. We have some great looking entries, but there's still time to get it in. Remember, first prize, SG1000, okay? So if you haven't submitted, you can't win. So I encourage you to do that. And the initial semifinalists will be determined by your votes, by you going and looking at them and actually making comments and liking them, that type of thing. So please, if you want to enter, go ahead and do it. If you want to look at what other ones and vote, go ahead and do it. And then we're going to have our own panel of judges. It's not going to be me. It's not going to be Megan, but we have some judges that are going to be in to actually look them over and choose the finalists next Tuesday. And that's when we're going to award the SG1000. Now tomorrow, me and my special guest, no spoilers, but the guest is shorter than I am. That just has spoiled it for a whole lot of people, right? But we're going to do something totally different, totally unique, something we've never done before in our life. We're going to do it tomorrow. And so we hope you join us at 3 p.m. And I think you'll enjoy it. I think it's going to be really fun. I hope Megan gets a chance to watch, because if she does, she's going to be laughing and glad that she's not part of it. Okay, so I know how she thinks. But that will be tomorrow. Yes, you'll laugh, and yes, you'll learn. We got a lot of things going on there with that. So let's see. Any other questions? And I will continue this series. Everything in that top 10 list that we went through, we're just going to dive a little bit deeper into it. Hopefully you'll learn a few lessons about it. Oh, one other thing that you probably missed when the sound was off that I was just trying to show you. Anytime you have metal products like these, okay, a fast way to cool them down is to lay them on something else metal. So, oh yeah, they're moving all around with the camera. So what I did was I took this piece of Chromolux and I had it laid down. And as these came off hot and I put them on there, they cool down amazingly quick if you put them on a metal surface. So that's why I was actually putting them on there. That's just a tip for you to use in your own shop. If you have a large piece of Chromolux lying around and you mess one up, kind of like I do periodically, keep it around and use it for a quick cooling pad for other metal products. Okay then, I think we will wrap it up. And appreciate everybody coming out. Appreciate your patience with the technical difficulties we had. And I appreciate everybody kind of pointing that out. And if you ever have any questions, you got my email address, the one from Sawgrass. Okay, and make sure that you email me, and I'll be glad to do my best to help you out. So until tomorrow, have a great day, and look forward to seeing you there. And hopefully all the technical problems will be taken care of. If they're not, I'll give you the email address of the guy who takes care of that. All right, see you later.